Present.
Christina Valori.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Marianne. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the Serum salary structure for levels 9 and 10. And Kevin Marks will be leading that discussion.
Thank you, Judy. Marianne, can you put the, Marianne or Doug, put the presentation up, please? Thank you. I don't believe this item should take long, and I will welcome questions at any point during the presentation. You don't have to save them to the end. And next slide, please. And next slide, please. So just as a recap, in the July board meeting and the prior Governance Subcommittee meeting, we went through the scope of the overall HR project in relation to revamping the foundational pieces of HR, as well as the compensation project that's been going on well over a year now. As you're also aware, that we took the levels 9 and 10 of the organization, which I'll explain more specifically what those positions were. And we took them offline and did not do that as a part of the initial presentation of the levels 1 through 8, as we were looking to do a little bit more of a deeper dive. So we plan on now summarizing everything, having and what we did in the scope of the compensation project was really, again, look at the relative worth of the jobs and put it into the leveling. We identified and collected the appropriate data sources. We've recommended a compensation structure that fits in neatly to the HR strategy and connects to our compensation philosophy. And we've now documented the process that illustrates the job analysis, the evaluation that's necessary, the ultimate assignment to a grade, pay level enrolled within the job structure, so that the organization, as it moves forward, will have a more defined roadmap of how to pin compensation. Next slide, please. There we go. So for this part of the presentation, some of the highlights. So as we went through the different leveling, of course, we kept the level 10 status for the president role. It's the highest level in the organization. We took a look at the board recommendations related to the scope of responsibilities for the chair and vice chair positions, since they're out for nomination. And in doing that, we recommend to maintain their current levels, with the chair being in a level 10. And the vice chair being in level 9. As a part of this, we talked before about realigning all of the VPs at the level 9. So they were all captured together previously. The vice presidents of the organization were spread between levels 9 and 8. And at the request of the Governance Committee co-chairs, we did go back and reevaluate the levels with respect to 9 and 10. We took a little bit deeper dive into the benchmarking and to find relative positions within the UC medical schools, as well as the private research institutions within California. As a reminder, that is the mandate of the proposition. And further, where we couldn't find enough matches, or we wanted something to reference to industry, we did tap into a proprietary database. That makes it sound like I hacked into it. I did not, but we did utilize that for reference and incorporate when necessary, depending on the position. Next slide, please. This is just a reminder of the methodology that was used. So the ERI data is more of the national database, the Economic Resources Institute. So it looks at other organizations where we couldn't find information, so specifically the research institutions. In these particular instances, we use the ERI data in relation to universities as a whole, plus research and development organizations. And then at the end, the MHR, which is the Morgan HR, which is the outside service that we utilize together with CERM staff, we provided the percentage targets, and that will allow you to make the recommendation to the board now for the levels 9 and 10. Next slide, please. So hopefully this is a reminder, but in the level 9 categories, we encompass the following position: the vice chair, the general counsel, and then the various VPs within the organization. So for these roles and coming up with the recommendation for the CERM salary range, We did exclude the VP of Medical Affairs data because in looking at the benchmarks for the role and in consultations with the Governance Committee co-chairs and Chairman Thomas, we still did not believe there were adequate matches that matched up clearly to the scope and responsibilities of the position. This will have no impact on anyone's salary or so it has no negative impact to the person that occupies that position because the salary's been determined to fit within the recommended range. We also took a look and decided that, much like we did for the chair, and we'll talk about that in level 10, to continue to match that to the president, we looked at the vice chair position and felt that we needed to provide a recommendation for transparency, particularly with people who are interested in being or gathering a nomination from the constitutional officers on a go-forward basis. So based on that, we believe the market data that we acquired for the VP of Board Governance position, and that was largely based upon a blend of communications individuals, external relations, and government affairs, looked to be an appropriate match for the vice chair position, as a majority of the duties or expectations for that role seem to be outwardly facing and in fact incorporates legislative affairs. Next slide, please. So these are the relevant market ranges for the level 9 positions, and I've categorized them by the minimum for the range, the median, and then the maximum salary for the range. And you can therefore take a look at the various positions that we were utilizing in determining the SERM range. So much the same way we did for the levels 1 through 8, we used the same methodology for the board, which sets the level compensation range at the lowest minimum and the highest maximum for the position within the level. And therefore, the recommended salary range for this level 9 would be a minimum of $238,000 and a maximum of $435,000. The one difference we have in this levels as opposed to the other levels, so levels 1 through 8, we used a 25th percentile marker for the market as the minimum and a 75th percentile marker for the maximum. For levels 9 and 10, we are recommending a 25th percentile for the minimum and a 65th percentile to the maximum. This is consistent with the board's recommendation back in 2007 to pinpoint the level 9 at the 65th percentile. Next slide, please. So level 10, as I mentioned, encompasses the following positions: the chair and the president role. Historically, SERM has always treated these market ranges for the positions as being the same, and we recommend to continue that practice moving forward. So the market percentiles, and I articulated a little bit more specificity in this one for the level 10, is as follows, and you can read the numbers as they go down. So therefore, next slide, please, before I get ahead of myself. Again, the board had adopted the 25th and the 65th for the level 9, so we recommend using that for the level 10 as well for consistency. So for the level 10, the recommended range would be as follows, and again, it's rounded to the nearest thousand, with a minimum of 427,000 and a maximum of 632,000. And therefore, and also the level 9, as a reminder, the recommended range would be 238 to 435. Now, please keep in mind that these are just ranges for the positions. These are not the salaries that individuals in these positions or in these levels have. That would be up to staff to determine the salary that goes into it, and obviously for the board to determine the president and chair's salary for the level 10. Is there a next slide, Marianne, or are we done?
That's it.
That's it. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, I just want to publicly thank you for the thousands of hours that you spent putting all of this together and coming up with a consistent rationale for where the data originated and then how the recommendations came forward. I see George has his hand up.
Just a really quick question. This looks like great work here, by the way. I certainly agree with that. Where do the current president and vice president salary sit in these ranges? Could you remind us?
Yeah, so for the president's salary, it's just below the median at 566. For the various vice presidents, it kind of bounces all over the range depending on the individual's salaries. I don't have them immediately in front of me, but everyone looks to be around almost the median, maybe a couple just a touch above, but no one on the extremes of either the low end or the high end.
Great, thank you.
And I also just wanted to mention for prosperity and moving forward that the comparators that we utilize for the president and chair salary were a combination of the deans of the medical school, the vice deans of research, and then the ERI data that we obtained for the research and development organizations, as well as the university associations. So putting that all together in the formula, we came up with the ranges. Senator Torres.
Art?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Kevin, because I went through this with the UC and the Regents, and it was just arduous. And what you did here was a series of months of work back and forth. And so I just want to say thank you very much. And we're going to miss you as you leave and go on to greater journeys. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. I take this as a part of my career development. Now I can talk compensation.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't see any other hands raised, and so I would like to request a motion that these recommendations go before the full board for their approval on, I believe it's September 29th.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, it's moved by Art and seconded by George. Are there any other, now that we have a motion on the table, are there any other questions from the members of the Governance Subcommittee? Seeing no hands raised, are there any questions from the public? Seeing no there as well. So I think we can vote all in favor of recommending this to the full board. Oh, okay. I thought somebody was saying something. Okay. Please say aye.
Judy,
Can
it
you
has to
have
be
a
a
roll call?
Sorry, it has to be a voice vote. Yes.
A roll call?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay, okay. Sorry, Mary Ann, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Kim Barrett,
Yes.
Dan Bernal. Dan, you're on mute.
Marianne, you can come back to him.
We'll come back to George Blumenthal,
yes.
Linda Boxer,
Yes.
Judy Gasson,
Yes.
Linda Malkus,
Yes.
Adriana Padilla,
Yes.
Jonathan Thomas,
Yes.
Art Torres,
Aye.
Christina Vore,
Yes.
Dan Bernal. You on? Okay. We do have we do have hold on one second. Let me just double check. Yeah, we do. It passes. Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much for that. Moving
Apologies, I
on.
just step away for a moment. Aye.
Oh, great.
Good.
Thanks,
Thanks, Dan.
Dan.
Okay, we're now going to move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is a closed session. And Kevin is going to remind us of the language around having a closed session.
Great, thank you very much. So at this point in the meeting, as Judy mentioned, we'll be moving into closed session to discuss personnel issues. We'll be moving into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11120 Subdivision A and Health and Safety Code Section 125290.30 F3.
Thank you, Kevin. And I think Doug is going to invite you all into the breakout room. And then we'll just make sure that you're in your closed session before you guys start. Just make sure there wasn't any snafus.
Okay, and then we'll
Pleasure.
come back to an open session at the end of the closed session.
Correct.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Maria.
Hey, Linda, you need to go into the closed session.
Okay, it looks like everyone is back into the open session. And so we can now move on to item 5, which is update on the chair and vice chair search. And if you may recall that we had requested the constitutional officers to give us their nominations by September 15th, which is fairly soon now. And so once we have heard from the constitutional officers, we will be able to let everyone know who the candidates are. Are there any questions on that? I think we're very close. Today is the 12th, so we'll see what the week brings us.
Judy, will those be presented at the full board meeting, or do we go through those first? That's my question.
I'm going to ask Chairman Thomas for his thoughts on that, Linda.
So thank you for the question, Linda. I think as you recall sort of the process we had defined earlier, where we were looking to get the nominations from the constitutional officers by the 15th, at which point the board would have a period to vet the nominations so as to be able to inform what ultimately will be a vote on each of those 2 positions at the December board meeting. And so in terms of the timing of talking to the full board about the nominees, I guess, Kevin, do you have a sense of that?
No, I mean, we would have to consult James, I think, in looking at the process of how that would be determined. Maria Bonneville, do you?
You're up. We can't hear you,
We
Maria.
can't hear you, Maria, for some reason.
Hold, please.
Hi.
There, that's better.
There was a process that was outlined by the board or by the governance subcommittee that went to the board in March, and it gives dates and timelines. It'll be up to the co-chairs to determine whether or not those timelines fit, if nominations are submitted, at the proper timelines. So, but I'm sure Marianne can send that around again to the governance subcommittee so that you all have an understanding of what the timelines are, and we'll make sure that the board gets that as well in September.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay, item number 6 is opened for public comment on any aspect of this open session. Do we have comment from the public? I'm seeing no public comment. And so in that case, I believe that we are ready to adjourn this meeting unless anyone has any final thoughts that they want to share.
Thank you, co-chairs.
Thank you all members of the hardworking governance subcommittee. We really appreciate everything you guys do. All right, we are
Thank you.
adjourned.